Gravity bends light. April 23rd, 1985. The press conference has curdled and put Coca-Cola CEO Roberto Goizueta on his back foot instead of kicking ass.
I'm going to get right to the point.
He threw his weight into turning the outcome to his will.
The best soft drink, Coca-Cola, is now going to be even better. Simply stated, we have a new formula for Coke.
Goizueta described this as one of the easiest decisions we've ever made. And when pressed during a media scrum that Pepsi had stocked with hostile questions, his answer was, "I didn't assume that this is a success. This is a success." He said it in a tone as prickly as a million carbonated bubbles. It wasn't a success. And yet, it would prove to be.
All across America, people are taking the Pepsi challenge.
Fact is, in tests like these, nationwide, more people prefer the taste of Pepsi over Coca-Cola.
Pepsi had been gaining on Coke for years. There was panic in Atlanta. Instead of leading with confidence, Coca-Cola brass convinced themselves that they needed to be more like Pepsi. And so that's what they did. Coke reformulated its flavor, tested it to overwhelmingly positive results, which should have been a red flag about the research, and released it with great fanfare to the public.
I've never been as confident about a decision as I am about the one we're announcing today.
The public disagreed.
What do you think about Coke changing its formula?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Since 1947 here.
What do you think about this new...
I don't like it.
Why not?
It's too sweet.
I like the old Coke better.
Well, what we want is to get the old taste of Coke back. That's un-American because we fought wars to have a choice, to have freedom.
But Coke was telling them it was new and better, after all. So that must be so. Well, it was new anyway.
The simple fact is that all of the time and money and skill poured into consumer research on the new Coca-Cola could not measure or reveal the depth and abiding emotional attachment to original Coca-Cola felt by so many people.
They ignored warning signs in the research because the strategy had been the starting point. And people were bewildered and threatened by the change.
Here's one. Dear sir, you have fouled up by changing the only perfect thing in the world. Before the courts fouled up by breaking the phone company, there were two perfect things, and now that you've changed Coke, there are none.
The gravity of people's anger, fueled by zero-sum media coverage that amplified the controversy about sugar water, had cast darkness over the Coca-Cola Company.
This is a story of big business, enormous advertising, and a company that found out the hard way, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The old Coke is coming back.
Coca-Cola and its agency Burson Marsteller wagged the dog. After 80 days, the old Coke was back as Coca-Cola Classic.
We're really sorry for any discontent that we may have caused for almost 3 months. And Coca-Cola Classic is truly a celebration of their loyalty and a vindication of their cause.
And the subtext from Coke to the public was, "Thank you. Please buy a lot of the thing you missed so much. Prove your devotion."
Today, a hand-delivered statement at Coke's Atlanta headquarters exclaimed, "Everybody wins," and they were right. At closing, the company's stock was up more than 2 points on Wall Street.
There were suspicions that the whole thing was a stunt from the beginning.
Some cynics say that we planned the whole thing. The truth is, we're not that dumb, and we're not that smart.
But gravity bends light, you see. Novelty and improvement are strange bedfellows. Most of the time you get one or the other, and improvement might just mean a bump in short-term revenue or a stock price increase. A new and better experience for you? Those are the rare ones. It's episode 368 of the Hooniverse podcast. Here's some new things we've seen lately. You decide what kind of an improvement they are. Hey, it's episode 368 of the Hooniverse podcast. I am Dan Roth.
And I'm Ross Ballett.
And our working theme is new and improved. Or is it?
Or is it?
Yeah. Because I think most stuff that's branded as new and improved is just positioned that way on purpose because that's what they want you to think.
Mm-hmm.
They're planting the seed, and it may not actually be new or improved.
There's a very clever way of taking nostalgia and twisting it into advertising and marketing so that you are led to believe it's new and improved when it actually is either not or something completely different from what you remember it being. Yeah. And kind of the genesis of this conversation here is the rehashing of nameplates in the auto industry that have led to vehicles that are received sometimes actually pretty well, but still with the little asterisk next to it saying, but the name, right. And case in point, Chevy Blazer. So I'm going to share a picture on the screen here of what this looks like today, and I'm willing to bet the listeners know what it looks like, and I hope, if not, then you please check out our video. This is the Chevy Blazer.
Right. So for me, when I think Blazer, first of all, I think the S10 Blazer, which is that was a Blazer when I was kind of forming my opinions. Yep. And before that, there was the full-size Blazer.
Yeah.
And that's
K5.
Yeah.
Real Blazer.
That's right. That's the Blazer to me.
Yeah.
And this is an Equinox, but that's fine. Fine, whatever. Blazer's a good name.
Interesting you say it's an Equinox because Chevy has also given us the Blazer EV, which
is not a good name for an EV.
No. It considering the frequency of fire-related catastrophes.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
not great.
Gas cars probably catch on fire more than EVs still, but EVs get way more news when they catch on fire.
Well, I mean, everything with an EV is, it's media hullabaloo and for good reason. I mean, it's a hot topic. But for reference, that's the Blazer EV.
I really like the Blazer EV, actually.
That's the Blazer, neither of which have any design or core ethos functionality semblance to what we're talking about with the S10 and the K5 Blazers.
So where do you come down on that? Because I know you like off-road stuff. Is that good or bad that they used the name and they didn't, quote unquote, honor the legacy? I
just think it's a huge missed opportunity. And that's kind of what everybody's been saying since the Bronco came back. In the 90s, there was the Bronco, there was the Blazer, and then there was, remember the two-door Tahoe and the Yukon GT? Those were trucks, and they were body on frame with real transfer cases. And to take that name and, put it on what's effectively just like you said, an Equinox or some other just blah crossover.
Well, I think that you may have an opportunity to see an off-road kind of like a safari version of the current Blazer. It's still not going to be like that GMT 400 Blazer or Yukon. That first gen Yukon and those GMT 400s, they still look
right.
That truck was the future when it debuted and just a classic. Yep. But everybody else is doing a sort of off-road theater with their crossovers. So you've got what is it? Timberline with Ford and Rock Creek with Nissan, TRD Pro.
I mean, Mustang Mach-E Rally is a thing now, Yep. But you were going to say Honda Trail Sport, which
exactly.
Which we actually saw. They are just wrapping up the Rebel Rally as we're recording this, and Honda had a Trail Sport, a Passport Trail Sport in the Rebel Rally, the 2020, I guess 6 vehicle that they haven't actually revealed yet, and they're pushing further and further and further with these nameplates, and everybody's kind of looking at Chevy going, you have this huge history of off-roading and, you've got some great pickups, but where's the SUV?
Yeah. Well, they'll get there eventually, or they won't. And that's fine as long as they make money. I guess I say that like every week about something.
Yes.
So, okay. What are some other examples of nameplates?
Okay. So, and I know when we were texting about this that you were sad, but the GTR,
I love the GTR.
R35 GTR, which it's not the resurrection of a nameplate so much as it is the continuation, because there were only a few years of gap between R34 and R35. But the R35 dies this year. So
that makes me super sad because that car, it's very much like on the lower tier, the Z. It's really honest in a way that a lot of cars aren't because it's so old now. And like it's like visceral, and you get in and you feel like this is what you fell in love with back in the day. This is what cars used to be. There's less of a layer, like a filter layer. And that's weird to say because the GTR itself is so sophisticated. Oh, man. So many little dinky controls on that thing. You can tweak it a zillion different ways. I just loved that car. And I love how funky it is. Like my favorite thing is the way it would just like rattle and clank when it sat there and idle. It was, I don't know whether it was the transmission or something. It was just like, it would make these odd noises. You'd be like, what's happening? You're like, that's normal. Don't worry about it.
And whatever those noises were, it worked. And, it was mind blowing how fast it was. Was it 2008 or late 2007 when they first had them out? And it really, I mean, the GTR in its debut as R35 is probably a big reason that we're, as a cohesive unit, so obsessed with 0 to 60 times, because that was its party trick, like it could set lap times, but it was still 4,000 pounds, but it was doing 0 to 60 in what, like the low threes in 2007.
Like it's the benefit of all-wheel drive. Yeah.
And a whole bunch of boost.
Well, in that car too, when it debuted, it was like 70 grand or something too. It was like
66.
It was a crazy amount of capability for the money, and its price rose over the years, but still, like that's a bargain. It essentially gave you 911 turbo performance for half the price.
Yes, and
or less than half the price.
But now they're I mean, it depends on how much you don't option the 911 turbo to.
Right, if you got the leather on the vents or the other Porsche nonsense that just allows it to drive up the price.
PTS key fob, but so the GTR is dying. It's sad.
Look at that.
It looks great.
Look at, what is that green?
This is called Midnight Purple. Oh, it's glorious.
So it's a color shift paint.
It's a color shift, yeah. I want to wrap my truck in a color like that. That would be cool. But, so, the GTR in R35 is very different functionally in terms of technology from what the R34 was, just in your face tech. And I think for probably half the R35's life, they've been talking about what the R36 will be, or there's been speculation about if it'll be an EV or a hybrid. And I mean, now that they're killing this one, we'll probably know sometime in the not too distant future, unless it's an NSX situation. So what do you think? You think an EV or hybrid GTR is still a GTR?
Oh yeah. I mean, a GTR is what they say a GTR is. Like I'm not that precious about it, but I think that we're definitely going to see a big difference in propulsion, and kind of layout. I'm trying to figure out what platform to put it on, because I don't know that there's anything that they have.
I don't think the Z platform will handle what they're going to throw at it. And it won't take all of it.
If they're looking for electrification, like they're going to want something that is capable of, 48 volts, and it's got a better way to store the batteries. And, so they'll do all-wheel drive without, drive shafts and transfer cases would be my guess. So they'll make room in the middle for batteries by doing an electric front axle or something like that. I don't know.
I have to chuck my dad joke of the day out there. It'll be the Nissan GT Armada.
You know what? That would be all right.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I like the Armada.
Hey, there's a bunch of those patrols with VQ engines in there, and they're like running 1,000 horsepower. So
yeah,
it sounds silly, but it's not.
I always wanted to get like a 370Z and a VK56 out of an Armada and put them together. So you could have a nice V8 Z carb.
I mean,
of course, I'm not independently wealthy.
Yeah,
don't
right.
have any time
or fabrication to do all of that in the wee hours of the night.
And that's not a tiny engine. Like if you're going to V8 swap a Z car, just put an LS in it and be done.
Yeah, but the VK does fit in the Frontier and the Xterra, which is...
Does it really?
Yes, it does.
Whoa.
Yep. So if anybody has an Xterra or a Frontier that needs a motor...
That's a good engine. I mean,
you
have to do a lot of electronic...
Oh, yeah.
Electron trickery, but yeah.
Computer play.
Yeah. All right. So what else? I'm sure there's a fat vein of FCA, Stellantis, Dodge, Chrysler.
Stellantis shenanigans.
Yeah.
So you brought up the Dodge Stealth, which I didn't know was supposedly in the woodworks. And I mean, if they're going to do us a solid, it'll be a real car. But you're alluding to it being more of a Chevy Blazer.
Yeah, so the rumor that I heard is, and it's probably not really any kind of a rumor now, I'm sure it's out on like Autoline and stuff, but the Stealth nameplate will come back as a Durango replacement. And this is what American car companies do, which I don't understand. Like you've had 3 generations of Durango. Keep with Durango.
Yeah.
Like, that name is now established. So you're going to bring back an old name for the nostalgia play, but anybody who remembers the Stealth remembers that it was a Mitsubishi. It was essentially the Mitsubishi version of the GTR back in the day. It was V6 all-wheel drive, twin turbo, like
equally complicated.
Yeah, it was bonkers.
Equally heavy. Actually, no, it's probably heavier than Skyline.
Was very heavy. Yeah, it was legit like 3,700 pounds in like 92. It was a heavy car. Yeah. But it's not coming back as that. So it's going to be an SUV, a family SUV. And that's fine. Like I don't have any problem with, I love the Durango. They can only build the WK architecture for so long. So it's the only thing built on that platform now since all of the Grand Cherokees have moved off to WL. Yeah.
WL. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and speaking of the Hemi Grand Cherokee is dead as of last week. They have officially stopped producing V8 Grand Cherokee Ls, which marks the end of the V8 Grand Cherokees.
Yeah, which is like that's okay.
Yeah, right.
Get the 4xe. That's the one to have.
Hurricane.
Yeah, the Hurricane would be nice.
They'll chuck the Hurricane in it.
It'll definitely fit. There's plenty of room in that engine bay.
Yeah. So I don't know the Dodge Stealth. The only thing that I question, actually make that 2 things, is first of all, is anybody who's looking to buy a possibly like mid-size SUV going to even know what the original Dodge Stealth was?
Right. Yeah, I didn't get to that point. That was like I was trying to get to that point. Yeah, nobody cares. And anybody who knows is not gonna. They're gonna be like whatever. Like that's not a Stealth.
And second, I guess that's kind of what Dodge has to do to survive. Mm-hmm. Because if the Durango eventually dies, which it will, it'll eventually hit its safety and efficiency limits, and they won't be able to produce it. Between that and the Hornet, there's a huge gap in their portfolio, which is the biggest selling segment.
Right. Yep.
So,
yeah, they're going to have to do something. I'm kind of scratching my head on what it's going to be. Is it going to be a version of the platforms that Stellantis has is like compact US wide, which is old now. Mm-hmm. That was Cherokee, which is gone. And so there's going to be a replacement on the Jeep side. I'm assuming it's going to be a sister to that Jeep vehicle. Mm-hmm. We'll talk a little bit more about Stellantis in a little bit. Yeah. But I just don't know how they're going to fill that hole in the lineup. And they don't have any sedans. The Challenger's gone too. So there's really like they are a 2-vehicle nameplate right now. Yep. That's Hornet and Durango.
And if you think back to what FCA was in the 2000s versus what they are now, I mean, Ram's its own brand.
Yep.
They have a ton of things going on over there. Jeep has a bunch of things going on, but Dodge is 2 vehicles. Chrysler is
one.
It's one.
Mm-hmm.
How do they, how is that sustainable? And where's it go?
Yeah, we'll talk about Stellantis.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Because, it does make you wonder, like, what they have, at least what they have is differentiated. Like Chrysler has the Pacifica and they have the 300, right? Like, so they had unique, you couldn't get that product anywhere else. You had the Charger, but it was slightly different there. So, and there will be a new Charger at Dodge. I did leave that out. So that's coming. It's just, it should have been here and it's not here yet. And so
it's missing out. It looks exactly like you would expect a new Charger to look.
Right.
Which isn't bad to say.
I quite like it, actually.
I think it's a little misleading. It gives off the notion that it still has, a supercharged V8 in there, and it's in some cases fully electric, and then it's Hurricane, the i6.
Yeah.
But we established this last show. It's a twin turbo i6, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so that'll be available as well, which it'll rustle some feathers.
So here's the thing. We just totally forgot about that car. And it's supposed to be like the savior, right? Like, and it's like, that's a all new platform that can be very flexible. And it's just like, it's late and they're not making a whole lot of noise about it, at least to the mainstream. So it's, I don't know.
Just with the fake speakers in the back.
Yeah, which is cool. Like, honestly, like all that, like it's a gimmick, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It gets people talking.
Okay, so we're already there. Let's talk about Stellantis. So we have the upcoming Charger and it's multiple variants, 2-door, 4-door, electric, gas, inevitably hybridized in some capacity. And that probably should have been here already, but the catch, despite the fact that they still sold a ton of those, the Chargers at the end of its life, like the last Charger.
Yep.
We established recently that sedan sales are not good. So is that where you would go? What would you do if you had the helm?
Yeah, so this is the thing. I was looking at Stellantis overall, and because Carlos Tavares is going to retire, I should send in my resume for the job. I will take it. I'm a long-term Stellantis fan anyway, so,
You've bought into the
brand and its history.
Literally.
Yeah. I got a couple in the driveway. But the thing that they're going to need to do, and maybe they're already doing this, and they're just in this awkward period, is they've got too many platforms because they put so many companies together, right? They've got PSA and Citroën that they also merged with Opel. Like over in Europe, they ate up the Opel brand, and that had been GM for like 70 years.
Right.
And then they gobbled up FCA. That was the mishmash of Fiat and Alfa and Chrysler and Dodge. And so they've got all of these different brands. And part of the problem is when that deal happened, companies, you don't stop. So you keep developing your products. And they had this mishmash of platforms and existing business deals they had to keep together. So there was a real transition period. And it seems like it was actually pretty short, but they moved some Opels off of GM platforms onto Stellantis, like a PSA platform. And now there's like a Citroën and an Opel and I think a Peugeot. They all share, I think the Aircross shares a singular platform. And it's a cool crossover. Like they have a bunch of stuff in Europe that could be the next platform for here, and Jeep even in China and other markets, India. Like there are other Jeeps that and other platforms that were developed with.
The Avenger.
Yeah, the Avenger. I think it's tinier than it looks like in pictures.
Yeah,
which might make it a problem.
It's like barely a Renegade.
Yeah, which is like that's not exactly workable. But they have the EMP. I think it's the EMP1 and EMP2 platform, and then EMP2 is also STLA, so that is now harmonized. So they're like doing the hard behind the scenes work, or it's CMP, Common Modular Platform. They actually developed it with a Chinese company together with Dongfeng. So that's the move. Like that's the unpopular or unflashy moves that you have to do if you're in charge of Stellantis. It's like we really need to reduce the amount of different platforms that overlap and figure out how to flexibly make a bunch of really different things off of that same set of hardware, like stuff that just has its own personality and things. And that's I think where they're at, like what their challenge is. And within that pain, they've got a lot of plants and a lot of different assembly locations. Like, there's going to be pain, right?
Yeah, there's too many moving parts for a company that's struggling in so many instances. And in some way, electrification does help align things because it does simplify the manufacturing process.
Yeah.
But at the same time, these are such distinct brands with such distinct personalities.
Yeah.
That, and even going like across countries too, they're such different buyer bases that this is a tough one. Stellantis is going to have a tough time sticking, through this.
I mean, honestly, maybe your take would be different. So I want to hear your take. But like my first instinct would be to just cross stuff off the list, right? Like Abarth, we don't need that right now.
Nope.
Alpha, how much does Alpha do that Fiat doesn't? Right? Like,
yeah.
Is it? I know it's an old brand. Really take a hard look at that. DS, again, like that's a point of pride, but do you need it? Lancia is supposed to be coming back, but honestly, like, do you need to do that too? Like,
the last efforts weren't good.
Yeah. Maserati, same. I guess Maserati might actually be profitable, but
the Levante's dead. They just killed the Levante, so now they're again a 2 or 3 car company.
I mean, you could stick with like you've got Vauxhall, Ram, Peugeot, Opel, Jeep, Fiat, Dodge, Citroen, and Chrysler. Like that's I feel like that's a lot still, but
that's a lot.
That cuts like 5 brands.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. I mean,
you can look at bringing the other ones back in some other way, but like supporting another brand is just like it's an expense. And even the thing with like nameplates, right? We were just talking about the nameplates coming and going. Anytime you relaunch a nameplate, right? Like it's an expense. So like just what do you have that you can continue steady with? What do you have that you can get rid of? And then where are you going to play? Like we know we're going to have the sedans from Dodge, for example, on the STLA platform. Okay, great. Like that's fine. There's not a ton of volume in the sedan market, but it's also a shrunken market now. So there's probably enough volume.
Fewer pickings.
Right. Like even the Kia K5 is going, and that was one of the last few. So you've got the Camry and Accord and and Sonata.
Yeah.
Right?
CT4, CT5.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Premium sedan. Sure.
Yep.
But there's
different
just like
buyer, totally different buyer.
But there's just not a lot, right? Like, and that, CT4, CT5 would be like the Chrysler version if they ever did that. And maybe that's a good play too.
New 300. Great play.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what plant do you put it in and how much volume do you need out of that plant. And nobody from the enthusiast side ever thinks about the business thing. Like, what deals do they have with unions, right? Like, I guarantee you it's going to be a complete shit show to try to close Alpha or Abarth or especially DS. Like, French unions do not mess around. And so good luck. But, I mean, I said like Opel, just keep Opel around because like the works councils in Germany, super, super protective of their labor, which is good on the one hand, but also difficult. So
it is. Yeah. I mean, there's so many moving parts and so many different pieces of the auto industry that Stellantis has its fingers in right now.
They definitely need more like crossovers and stuff though.
They definitely need more crossovers. That should be play number one. I mean, give Dodge a new crossover, give Jeep, it doesn't need another crossover, but give them another crossover. And they are prepping this, which I will bring a picture up of the Recon, which is set to be kind of where the Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee overlap.
I just love that thing.
Fully electric. So cool, it looks awesome. The doors come off and it's got the full soft top, the Sky One Touch, whatever it is. They're going to sell 1 million of this thing as long as it can,
And it's a hybrid, right? It's got the blue toe hooks, so it's a 4xe.
Interesting is that this one in this picture is a 4xe, but if I remember correctly, they said that these are all fully electric. I mean, maybe there's both. It would be the best thing for them to do would be a 4xe, and also just a fully electric version, which some Jeep buyers aren't going to be thrilled about. But you know what? That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jeep makes it's the old quote, right? Like, what does General Motors make? Money. If Jeep wants to make money, they're going to build what the buyers are buying, and those hardcore buyers, like, they still exist, and there's still a product for them. If you want a Wrangler, go get it. And every Jeep is going to be capable in its own way. Most of the buyers never, ever, ever venture off-road, and they're not going to use that hardware.
Nope.
The two Jeeps in my driveway are 100% indicative of that. They're way overkill for snowstorms, but whatever. I like them, and that's fine. And the problem is, anytime I go to work on them, I got a lot of skid places to move, which
right. For better and worse. I don't know. I saw a bunch of JL Wranglers on the trail on Saturday, so people are using them.
Yeah,
not as many as TJs, but.
Well, yeah, TJs are cheaper, and you don't mind scratching them up and stuff, right? Like, I do wonder off-road, because I haven't been in that situation, but is electric better or worse? Like, I can see it being better in some ways, but you really have to carefully set up like the throttle settings and stuff, right? So you don't get all the torque and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, that in certain instances I could see it being a lot better and some a lot worse. I mean, we're slicing this so thin, on the sand, extra weight, not great from the electric drivetrain. But on the rocks, extra weight, also not great, but the control you get from an electric drivetrain and the way you can tune an electric drivetrain, if you have a motor in each corner, you can basically gear it down as much as you want.
Yeah,
so that could be great. Overlanding might not be great, if you're trying to cross Africa, like on an electric.
Or you just got to bring your own solar farm, right?
Yeah, bring your own generator backup. Yeah. So it's so hit or miss, but coming back to Jeep and Stellantis, Jeep has been the money printer for Stellantis over the last few years, and to do that, you have to build and sell what the people want. And we discussed on the last show that they've hit their limit on pricing, and it's starting to turn into huge inventory. But the Recon and the Grand Cherokee and the Avenger and the new Compass or Cherokee, whatever they are going to call it, they all have that Wrangler sensibility. Not sensibility. That's definitely not the right word.
I know what you're trying to say.
Ethos, evocative, go do things kind of feel behind them. And that's how they drive sales, and that's how they're going to have to keep making vehicles, even if nobody ever off-roads them. And it's...
you find the sweet spot, right? It's a premium brand, so you can get a little bit more money out of it.
Yep.
You can offer a little bit more, and, you find where the customer is willing to pay. They overshot a little bit in some ways, and, that's overall Stellantis. What's interesting to me about what's going on there right now is, Carlos Tavares is under fire to the point where he said, hey, I'm going to retire, which seems a little fishy, but whatever. He's been in the business a long time, but also he's taking shots at his U.S. management team, like saying that they were arrogant and he didn't really like their plan. And he kind of signed off on it anyway because they had the ultimate responsibility for it. And look, it's not working out. So they took the fall. There was a lot of house cleaning at the U.S. side of Stellantis. But if you look at it globally, they're having the same problems. So like their inventory is too high. Their sales are way off. And they're just like, they're getting clobbered in just about every market. So something deeper than just like the U.S. team being wildly optimistic happened there. And there's a story there. I will be interested to see it come out. Because they cut a lot of good people who really know, like they drove the success. One of the good examples is like Ram. the marketing folks for Ram had been there for a very long time, and they built that identity. Like that brand has been around for 20 years, which is amazing to think about.
Oh my God.
Like, right? It seems like yesterday that they created it. But that, like, it's really hard to drop into the North American pickup truck market from France or
anywhere,
Eastern Portugal, and really sell trucks to Americans. And that sounds really provincial, but I think there's just a lot of nuance to it. And I think also the thing that they're going to have to do for all, like Ram and Dodge both, they have the complete jerk kind of customer persona. Like, are you a
say that? Your words, not mine. Yeah, but not no.
Yeah, like it's really just like they probably squeezed as much as they could out of that, like, in your face kind of thing.
I mean, we were looking at their website before, and it said "pick your poison," you know,
right.
and didn't they have a campaign a long time ago that was like demolish the road or some crap like that?
Something like that. It's just like. After a while, the hyperbole, like, it just starts to lose its teeth, and it, like,
we're not laughing with you now; we're laughing at you.
Yeah. So the brand needs an evolution. So I could see asking the people who were there, "Hey, you need to evolve this," and not being pleased with what they wound up doing because they had been there for so long. So I honestly don't know what the subterfuge was that happened inside Chrysler. Yep. But he's got a bigger problem on his hands, Tavares does, and I don't think it's just, hey, the guys in the US messed up. No, I don't think that's the case. I think it's overall things are just unwieldy and they're not going well, and they need to right the ship, and maybe they'll get there. I'm not sure. Everybody, like all the YouTubers, I see all these videos like Scotty Kilmer, which I don't watch because I can only take so much nonsense. But it's just like, Chrysler's going to close tomorrow. It's like, no, they're not. They're going to be okay. Every brand goes through its ups and downs. You may not like what they do, but they're going to figure it out.
I think you had a good point, though. I think thin the herd might be the move for them because, I mean, they obviously know their audience here, but they're, like we were saying, it's not the same audience across the board, and not the same buying demographic, and not the same, I mean, anything. So
I think looking at it from a business lens is the way you're going to figure out what's going on and what they're going to do next, versus the enthusiast lens. Like, they're making chess moves right now. Like, they just slid a bunch of pickup production. So they were making, I think, their heavy duty trucks in Saltillo, Mexico. And now they're moving some 1500 production down there as well. And part of that is, I think that's a play because the unions could go one way or another here in the US, and Stellantis has bad relationships with suppliers and unions more than any other domestic manufacturer. So it's a couple of things. They need to reduce costs. So Mexico is a lower cost production site, still not a problem. No chicken tax. You can bring them across the border because of USMCA. So not a problem. I mean, Ford just did the same thing for a couple of reasons. Like they moved a bunch of Super Duty production up into Ontario. Same kind of, I think, thinking is like, hey, we have to put something in that plant, and also we need to hedge against whatever our union does, because when the UAW struck at the end of last year, they hurt profits for everybody by taking down their highest profit plants, which was like a super smart move for the UAW. So respect, you struck everybody's highest profit, biggest plants. But now the automakers are skittish, and so they're going to move some stuff around. And that's, I think, the business part of it needs to get solved before the product part of it, or like concurrently with the product. Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
They have to go hand in hand. Like, there's no way around it, because you can't solve the business without solving the products, and you can't have the products without a functional business. So it's I don't know, different sides of the same coin.
I've gone on far too long about this.
So speaking of running a business, do you want to talk about the what's not the future?
Yeah. So last week there was the Weave Robot thing, which immediately battered Tesla stock. I was down like 8% or something, or off by 8 points, I forget. But which it very much should have been, because, man, Did you see the presentation at all? Did you watch?
I didn't. Okay. And just to throw some context out there, the We Robot thing is Tesla's fully autonomous, driverless robo-taxi. And they released it at another one of their big showy conferences.
Yeah.
And it's as much BS as all the other stuff they've promised for the last, 10 years.
It was kind of gross. I watched some of the replay. First of all, it happened on the lot at Warner Brothers, which is super appropriate because that's the home of Looney Tunes, and that's absolutely what this was.
I love that parallel. Well done.
Hopefully I'm the originator of that, and I will get all the credit. But they showed Elon getting into this cyber cab, rubber taxi, whatever the hell they call it. And it drives itself this predetermined route. I'm just like, that's a parlor trick.
Yeah.
It could have been remote controlled. It could have been controlled by a wire laid down. It could have just
been pre-mapped.
Yeah, it's just like it's a closed course. It doesn't show off anything. It's not something they couldn't have done 5 years ago. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could have been an electric buck that just didn't have any actual stuff underneath it.
It was on a monorail for all we know. Yeah. There's no merit to anything we're seeing.
Right. It was just overall, the promises seem really, really unserious, especially if what you're doing is promoting full autonomous mobility. Mm-hmm. It's very much like the Cybertruck is kind of pickup theater, really just for the people who use expensive and inefficient luxury grade pickups.
It's cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. That's a better word for it. They're still thinking in this single car commuting kind of model, and this is even worse because of the business aspect, right? This is supposed to be a taxi that's supposed to cost about $30,000. Fine. It's got expensive hardware like fancy gull wing doors, whatever. It only carries 2 people. And so it's supposed to be leased or purchased by a mobility provider. So a TNC or a traditional taxi company. It's just it's totally wrong. You can't move that many people. It's still not that efficient. It's, it doesn't carry enough people within its footprint to be efficient at all. So it felt like just this stream of lies. And then they had a van, which Elon pronounced it the Robovan, which I'm not going to ever say again because it feels disgusting. It's Robovan, and he's an idiot.
Well,
But that's more of the right idea. It supposedly can carry 20 people, and when it's vaporware, you can make claims like that because there was no timeline given and just no actual facts about this. And if you're in the business of mobility, there are things you can do right now. If that's really what you want to do is to provide mobility, there are things you can do right now. You can even use your very strong brand to brand the efforts that just basically make it easy for people to get around without using a car.
Yeah, trains.
Right.
Public transportation.
And it's just everything just seems really cynical and not... I guess just unserious, right?
It's a dog and pony show. That's all it is. They're trying to drive people's interest in the brand by taking investments so that they can continue to do all the nonsense that they're doing.
Yeah, and before we just fall down this rabbit hole of you guys just hate Tesla. I respect all of the people that work very hard to bring this stuff to life, but I also think that you can tell that they're not serious when they bring out a thing it's a 2-person car that's supposed to be a taxi. And they make claims like you can fall asleep and wake up at your destination when they definitely don't have the tech stack for that. They have not brought
tech stack. We don't have the regulation for that to be real.
Well, that was my other point. Is no, that's fine. They're not doing any regulatory work. There's no steering wheel or pedals, right? So that's just, you can't put that on the road, and they're not the only company working on this, and nobody's cracked it. Right? Waymo has probably gotten the closest, and they still have trouble.
Yeah.
And it may be a decent solution in certain places, but I think in a high density city, it's not. Maybe a low density place where it's warm and it doesn't snow, like Arizona. Yeah, fine, awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
And so
Florida. Plop it in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, but
there you go.
You know, people use their golf carts in Florida, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Drive around the villages.
Yeah, they're hammered half the time.
And it's like, just bullshit. Like, oh, it'll someday be 10 times safer than a human being. First of all, 10 times. Like, how do you even quantify that?
You know, it's talking vapor. It's word vaporware.
Yeah, and like, it's going to be here in 2027. Apparently, no later than 2027. But we've had this track record of claims that don't ever come to fruition on time. And the van was even worse. There was no timetable. Yes, it could take 20 people. And, well, yes, it's definitely going to look like that because the future should look like the future, he said. And I agree, the future should look like the future instead of like some kind of crappy megalomaniac 1984 Blade Runner version of, you know, an Ayn Rand fantasy. I had to get that out. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. I mean, you're not wrong, but that is like on the nose. Yeah. Oh my God.
When your favorite book is Atlas Shrugged, you have problems. Where are the platforms? Where are the production facilities? Where are the prototypes? What are they doing to get regulatory approval? What about the software side? Like, if you're going to sell these to fleet operators, have you thought about how they're going to use it and what their experience is going to be? And then, how is that fleet integrator going to bring it into their business? I don't see any of that. There's none of that talked about.
No. And just to back up and to carry our through line here of new and improved,
yes, this is the future and it's not better.
The notion of an automobile is that there's an operator, and that operator is responsible for the decisions made to bring the vehicle from one place to the next. We're eliminating, or Tesla is trying to eliminate that. By eliminating that, it's not really what we've known the whole time. It's kind of its own new thing that we don't have parameters for. So if they're working to kind of set those parameters, like, don't do it when there's the consequences of other people who haven't, signed up to be part of this on board. Like, sorry, let me get this out. Autonomous cars, or so they say, like level whatever, that we have on the roads right now. You have to be ready, willing, and able to take the wheel at any given second. That's the law. Mm-hmm. That's where things are. And if there's no steering wheel and no physical controls, then we're completely like in the weeds. And it's just
literally,
or trees, or pedestrians, or park. So this isn't better. This is not better. To operate something that weighs 3,000 or 4,000 pounds on the low side, and to be party to it, like, there has to be some responsibility, and this is just trying to circumvent that.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. I think maybe it's like trying to create this new paradigm and create this new way that's really an old way. Like, it's just like it seems like a failure of imagination to have like single or 4 or 5 under 10 people in a single transportation pod, if autonomy is what you want, or non-driving. Like, we're
going backwards.
Yeah. Like, we know how to move people without them driving. This is not it. Like, recreating and the humanoid robot thing. I mean, come on, man. If you're making robots, a humanoid is like the worst form factor to create a robot.
Seriously. Everybody's seen the videos of the one from MIT or wherever, it stands up and somebody's just like bloop and it knocks over.
Yeah.
Yes, you can counter for that, but like,
They're amazing. Like and the robot murder dogs, like all of that is amazing.
Horrifying.
But
there was a Black Mirror about that. Actually, it was not. It was uncomfortable.
It was probably a documentary more than you know.
It was just sent back from the future. But
I don't think that they are as far down the road as they say they are. So this is not the future. And this if this is what new and improved looks like, this is old. It's old ideas, and they're not really making any improvement. They're just executing old ideas. And so that doesn't go just for Tesla. I honestly think that the same thing goes for all of the self-driving companies out there. Like, it's an interesting kind of thought experiment. They've thrown so much money and effort and time at it, and it just hasn't gotten past that 95% there. Like it's do you think you get it close? I just don't know that you're ever going to get it.
Do you think maybe they've hit their limit for creativity? Because they did have there were some amazing ideas. The tunnel could have been great if they didn't botch the execution entirely. The tube where you sit in it and shoot you across country.
Oh, like the Hyperloop? Yeah.
Yeah, that's inventive, two people in a car that brings you from place to place. That's not inventive.
To me, the tech that this seems like a very overkill tech kind of focus. That's what we think of when we think of the future or advanced. We never think of elegant simplicity. And I think that's what my hang up is what can you strip away? How can you make it more simple? Do you have to use a computer? Do you have to use hardware? So you've got the Hyperloop's a good example, right? It works great in theory. You put it under vacuum, so there's no resistance. Or is it vacuum or pressure? I forget. Either way.
I don't want to be a test dummy on that either way, so it doesn't matter.
But then you've got the practicality. Okay, you've got this big system. It requires energy to keep it either at pressure or at vacuum. You've got a pump doing that somewhere. You've got the vehicles that need maintenance. You haven't actually solved the problem. You've kind of transferred it to another hungry energy consumption.
Defer.
Yeah, you've moved it away. It's very much like we have low-cost goods here because we have offshored the suffering to some other place away.
Exactly. Where do all those minerals in the batteries come from again?
Right.
That's a different can of worms.
Where does your $30 pair of jeans come from? Yeah. Kind of.
How much does that phone cost?
Right.
How many lives did it impact to make?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot of that. So, to me, a real paradigm shift would be the future. And I think a lot of what we get is reactive, or it's some kind of fantasy from 25, 30, 40 years ago that looked great on film.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Cybertruck looks the way it is and is limited the way it is because
is that the future you want? Do you want to live in Blade Runner?
No. Right? For an immersive video game maybe, but that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's as much as I love cars, there's a lot of cars on the road. Maybe we should think about how to make it so you don't have to drive, and we have some solutions for that.
Yep.
But there's lots of actual creative and thoughtful ways to do this. This does not seem creative and thoughtful. This seems like some very an individual with a very high net worth and a company with significant market capitalization that is overly exuberant. And so we'll see how it plays out.
Yep.
I disagree that this is the future. And it's not new and improved.
And they say 2027, so check back in 2032 to see where we're at.
That's like the equivalent of I'll get to that in a couple of weeks.
Right.
No, you're not going to ever do it. 2027 is that's ages away from right now. And if they don't have prototypes, and if there's none of that stuff to see, they're so far behind. Baidu just came out with a self-driving van that uses their software, and I think a JRC van, and it carries 4 people, and it costs $30,000, and you can go and do that now. why do you need the Tesla? Right?
Yeah, this might be where the point on the chart where like the two lines intersect and companies really do start like leapfrogging Tesla.
Yeah.
I think we might be there. They had their head start and first mover advantage and all that, but I think they might have, hit critical mass for not only what they can do as a company technologically and inside the confines of the current legal system, but also under the watch of somebody who is, as wrapped up in jumping on a stage to support somebody as they are, with actually making viable products for the world. We're not doing politics. We're not doing politics.
No, I'll just leave it at this. If that company ever got competent leadership, watch out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So not better than it used to be is the conclusion on that one. Oh,
I went on for too long. We're a little bit over. Let's talk about what you're driving. What are you driving?
Oh, geez. What am I driving? So I have the GMC Acadia Denali for a week, which is the, again, 3-row GMC. I think there was a brief time, or no, that's the Terrain. Or was the Acadia at some point only have 2 rows? Oh my God.
No, I think the Acadia is the bigger one.
Always been 3 rows, right? It's the
Traverse.
Traverse and
the Saturn Outlook.
My mom had a Saturn Outlook. Yes. So this new one is it's a Turbo 4, and it's got all the stuff that they put in it to make you think that it's super luxury because it's got the Denali name on it.
So it's got a lot of chrome.
Panoramic sunroof, captain's chairs, Bose stereo with like the metal mesh speaker grills. So on first look, it's really nice. And I will say it is actually like, it's pretty fine to drive. People looking for a vehicle like, an all-wheel drive 3-row crossover from an American company, like it's going to do them just fine. The one I had was 65 and they started 56. Like 65 grand is a lot of money. That's Tahoe money, that's base Yukon money. Like
I guess though for Denali, like that's not too bad to get into the Denali trim.
No, it's not terrible. And like, again, it's price creep the same way everything else has had price creep. So yeah, it's a great car as a parent. There's like the doors open 1,000,000 degrees. There's tons of room. So that was
when my kids were small. I fell in love with the giant SUVs. I was like, we must have a Suburban.
Yeah,
not the short one. No, we need the full size, like 30-foot one. Yeah.
When I was like young, we had a Cherokee, a Wrangler, and I think my dad had an Acura Legend. And then by the time my brother was born, we had like 2 Tahoes instead, or Tahoe and a Yukon. So so the Acadia left actually during this recording. So thanks again to the FMI guys. So the Acadia left, and now I have I'm looking at my sheet, a Chevy Trax Active.
Oh, I like the Trax.
Actually now has all-wheel drive. So
all right, so next time we'll talk about the Trax because I actually really like that. I think it's a great size, a great price. Cool looking vehicle.
Yep.
All right. Well,
turbo 3-cylinder
FMI.
I think
monsieur.
Pierre dropped the Acadia off last week. It wasn't him this week.
No, they didn't come like looping in with a handbrake turn. That's what I remember, Pierre. We're getting very provincial, like with car rider stuff.
This is inside baseball. Yeah. So I have the Trax, so we'll report back on what comes of that. Okay. And in the interim, have taken delivery of a quote-unquote long-term test Can-Am Outlander. So be writing about that for ATV.com. Should be interesting.
Yeah, try not to die.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been riding for 20 years and I haven't managed to die yet. So
helmets?
I'll keep trying.
Pads?
No, I do helmet, chest protector, and a kidney thing to keep my back in place because I've had back surgery, and turns out back surgery and riding quads don't go hand in hand.
All right, wow.
So more on that to come. And yeah, other than that, went off-roading this past weekend. Ran
with the Lexus.
some blue trails and things got a little spicy. So yeah, it was good. It was a good time. We, it was a group of 2 Tacomas, me and the Lexus, and this madman with a second gen Xterra on 37s. His name's also Ross, incidentally.
That's pretty excellent.
He acts and is kind of like half my age. Not actually, but he might as well be. So yeah, we were in some, this place out in Pennsylvania, this anthracite AOAA place is like, I keep joking that it's like, whose line is it anyway? Like everything's made up and the points don't matter. That's how they categorize their trails. Like green trails at anthracite could be a blue trail at somewhere else. Like a blue trail at anthracite could be a red instead of a blue or a black.
Is this New York or is this Connecticut?
Pennsylvania.
You went far.
Yeah, Shamokin, Pennsylvania. This was a 4 a.m. wake up. Yeah.
Ooh.
So we had a good time.
You made it back though, so you didn't break anything.
Yeah, didn't break anything. Skid plates took a beating, which as they do. Winch got a workout, as it should. And the truck did pretty well, need a little more clearance. So I think in 35s for next season to keep up with, all my friends on 35s, because I got hung up on my right front lower control arm. That much clearance would have had it. So yeah. And that dude, so in the off-road space, like in the full-size world, you have the guys with Wranglers, 4Runners, Tacomas, and then there's the outliers like me and the GX or this guy in the Xterra. And then you have like buggies, trucks that got trailer there. And those usually have like V8 swaps or open headers of some sort. But on the side of like street vehicles, the GX is the only one that has a V8 of like really any of them that you see in the woods. Yeah. So, I mean, aside from, that MagnaFlow exhaust not being in a place where the factory one was and getting ripped off on the trail, like just listening to it on the trail, it's so indulgent and it's just so nice. It's
but I was gonna say you had the bitchin' exhaust, but it got damaged?
No, it didn't. It didn't because it's very high now. The outlet is
tucked up now.
The outlet is like basically at the frame.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, but oh man, it was a freaking day. It was like 57 degrees with a light breeze.
Sounds all right. Yeah.
It didn't suck.
Not a bad time.
Didn't suck. I did like 510 miles in a day, but
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's not counting what you did off road.
No, that's including. That's including off road. Yeah. So it was a good day.
That's a lot of miles.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
Yep. I got 19 miles per gallon in the Lexus coming home.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's
not bad.
I hopped into our 13 Grand Cherokee that my daughter's been using, and it's getting like 14 now.
Is that all around town, or is that just...
Yeah, I'm like, you have a lead foot. It also needs front hubs. Like the front hubs are real sticky. So there's just a lot of friction. And I've already
coefficient
done hubs
of drag,
Yeah, I've already done hubs on it, and they're a real bear. Like you watch the videos and they just drop out, like the guys who have them in Arizona.
Of course, yeah.
Here in the Northeast, you got to pull the whole upright and put it on a press and like crank on it. Yeah. And it's just like, it's not necessarily, it isn't really, but like that's the only way to get it out because it welds in there with rust. And like, you're like cranking on the press like a manual press and it starts to bend, like the Harbor Freight press.
If it's not lined up perfectly, it will.
And then all of a sudden it goes bang.
Something's got to give. Yeah.
And it releases. So I'm not really looking forward to doing hubs on it, but it needs it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of friction.
Is the exhaust or the gas fixed? Fuel line?
I put that back together and it just
stayed.
Like, it seems like it's not leaking. So
okay.
I got to do plugs on it. It hasn't had plugs in 100,000 miles. So we'll see if I can tear the threads out of each cylinder head. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, they're in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that apart before. I did. I fixed the Pentastar tick on one side, so I had.
It's a Pentastar, right?
Yeah, I had the whole valve cover off and took the cams out and replaced all the rockers on the passenger side, which saved my camshafts. So it wasn't
intimately familiar.
Yeah, getting the top of that off it's not that bad. Like they charge you a lot of labor if you have a Pentastar vehicle. They charge you a lot of labor to replace the spark plugs, and really all that has to happen is you just have to take the intake is in two pieces. There's an upper and a lower. You got to take the upper intake off and disconnect a bunch of hoses. It comes apart in like 10 minutes.
Oh,
like the first time you do it, it's going to take you a half hour, but after that, it takes you 10 minutes, and all the plugs and coils are right there. It's not a big deal, and it's not worth the $500 it's going to cost you.
Oh God, yeah, no, save that for something else.
Yeah. The problem is like it's one of those things like you go in there, you're like, well, if you're there, you might as well pull the lower intake and do the oil cooler, because the oil cooler always leaks because it's plastic and there's a dormant part that's all metal, and so then you won't be filling up
of slopes.
Yeah. You won't be filling up the valley with oil, which then leaks out the back, and
Jesus. Yeah.
It's fine. Like every car is like that. They all have their quirks, so I'm not mad at it. It's just I just need to find the time and money to do the work.
Yep. So, always got to engineer things to make it difficult.
Yeah. At least the starter's not in the valley like a North Star,
or in like the depths of friggin' the underworld, like on a 5.7 Toyota engine.
Oh, is it buried?
I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, please do.
It's not a good time. So, all right. Well, what else? We good? Done?
That's it. I think we're good.
Good show.
We should let people go. We rambled a lot about a lot of things this time, but everybody, again, this is your show as much as it is ours. So I hope you enjoyed the bonus episode from the event with Kia. We'll try to do as many of those as we possibly can in the meantime, but check back every couple of weeks for another episode and let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear.
Definitely.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks.